Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum and James. How you going, boys?
Not bad.
Callum's silence. Very good.
I'm good.
Very good. Just an easy breezy one this week.
Yeah. Well, first things first. If you didn't listen last week, we had a big announcement. We're going to MIFF, Melbourne International Film Festival.
Come see us there.
Yeah.
At select screenings.
Yeah. If you're going, let us know where you're going, or if you want to link up or whatever, or if there's movies you're seeing that you want us to talk about, whatever. Or if you're just curious about it, let us know.
If you see us in person, you can get a very special sticker or a card or something.
We have stickers.
We'll have goodies.
Yeah, we have goodies. But so make sure you're following us at Tuesday Review AU on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
Not X. Not
No.
X.
It changed
Never.
over on my phone today.
It's so dumb.
I felt repulsed by it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. It's awful.
Look at that.
If you
Yeah.
do happen to follow us on Twitter now, the Twitter just redirects you to our other socials.
Yes.
So.
But you should really delete that shit.
Yeah.
But so make sure you're following us because we will be on hiatus for the next 2 weeks. And if you're not following us, you won't be able to. We're obviously going to post updates, and we're hoping, no promises, but we're hoping to post a bit more over those 2 weeks, just showing what we're doing at MIFF, maybe showing what movies we're seeing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to interview some filmmakers or someone involved with something.
We'll be shameless.
Yeah, there's a reason we bought stickers for shameless self-promotion.
That's it.
So make sure you're following us, and the podcast will be away for 2 weeks, but then when we come back, we'll have a big
couple episodes probably.
Yeah, 2 or maybe 3 episodes of just covering everything also there's lots of movies coming out that aren't MIFF movies coming out.
We want to see in that space
in August
too.
in that space, yeah. So I think we'll be away. So today's August the 1st, Tuesday, August 1st. So we'll be away Tuesday, August 8th, Tuesday, August 15th, and then we should be back Tuesday, August 22nd. So for podcast usually comes out on the Wednesday after that.
So for podcast listeners, add a day.
Yeah, probably the 23rd. If not, again, keep an eye on our social media at Tuesday Review AU, and if there's any further delay, then we'll be back the week after or whatever. But yeah, so that's exciting, and hopefully we'll have a lot to sort of go over in the next few weeks.
Exciting time.
Yeah. But otherwise, like Nathan said, just a relaxed review roundtable. We'll go around, see who's been watching what. I think we should just start with movies, and then we'll go into TV later.
All right, so I'll start. I've been watching some classics. I've been watching the Lethal Weapon series.
What are you up to?
I've seen the first 3.
Okay.
2 is the best.
Yeah.
2 is my favorite, and then 1 is good.
Yeah. 3's the weakest.
3 is not the weakest. It has some really good stuff in it with Murtaugh and I guess his son and gangs and all that kind of. There's that kind of the parent, and he's worrying about his kid because his kid's kind of hanging around with some gangbangers, and he's like, I can't fix this. He's like, he just has to tell his son, you know what these boys are up to, please stay away.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to push his son away either.
Yeah,
and then stuff happens, and it kind of spirals a little bit out of control. And there's some really good stuff in 3. Obviously, it's not as good as the first 2.
Yeah, I think when you see 4, we'll talk about it more.
I'm halfway through 4. I had to stop it. 4 is a dumpster fire.
Oh, really? I love 4.
You really?
Yes, I think it's much better than 3.
I think. Look, I'm about 45 minutes in. The start of the movie is just. It's
crazy.
It's crazy
over the top,
and not really in line with the others.
Yeah, I think it's just pushing it a bit further than.
I do appreciate Chris Rock though.
Yeah, and you got Jet Li would have shown up in the first part of the movie. Yeah,
very briefly.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I think one of my problems. I think one of the best things about the third movie, other than what you were just saying, is the stuff with Rene Russo. Is that her name?
Yeah.
And Riggs's kind of thing with her, which is developed more in the fourth movie. I think one of the reasons the third movie is good, don't get me wrong, but one of the reasons I think it's the weakest is the villain is kind of like a bleh. He's like, whatever.
He's not fleshed out at all.
Yeah,
he's an afterthought.
Yeah, he's not. It's not that he's not fleshed out. It's like you've got really strong villains in 1, 2, and 4, and the third one is like no one remembers that guy. He's just very plain and forgettable.
Yeah. But look, they're good fun movies. They're good fun movies.
They're great action buddy cop movies that they don't really make
and they're
anymore.
Practical, man.
Yeah.
They're practical. Lots of in the really good scene in, I believe it's the third one where they're so you got the armored trucks at the start or close to the start, and Riggs and Murtaugh are just on beat cop duty because of their shenanigans.
Yeah.
And they have to intervene. You've got the big car chase, and it's all done practically, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And they're funny, and it's a good time. I hope. Do you think they should make a fifth one?
No, I've heard they are going to. I really
COVID put a dampener on it.
I really hope they never do, because 4 is the perfect ending. It's when the movie started in the 80s, it was already I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
So for them to come back now, it'll just be sad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll try to do something of like, his youngest kid has joined his youngest daughter has joined the police force or something stupid, and we always talk about this every episode. They don't make movies like that anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're Tom Cruise or Christopher Nolan, there aren't a lot of practical action movies, R-rated, big stunts and explosions.
That's true. It's a monkey's paw situation. We could get Lethal Weapon 5 and it'll all be CG.
Yeah, the best we'll get
the
is...
rubber face things will be...
They'll de-age
the best we'll get is one of those Netflix style, like, Gal Gadot.
Red Notice kind of.
Gal Gadot in whatever the new movie she's in and the other movie she was in on Netflix. This is like... grey, boring, ugly, flat action movie with some CGI, shaky cam, forgettable. Like, that's the best we'll get.
Yeah.
I really hope it doesn't.
But it's been an entertaining journey. I haven't seen them in many years. But it's good time.
I'm a big fan. I'm hoping they get a proper 4K box set of all of them, not just
that
1 and 2.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
The other movies I've been watching, I've been on kind of like an 80s spree at the moment. The best decade for cinema.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say it's the best decade, but
it's all right,
Especially for all the stuff we like. It's got all the stuff.
Yeah. I watched Night Game with Roy Schneider.
Night Game? Yeah. I don't know that
So it's like a crime thriller kind of slasher about a villain who kills people when a certain team or player in a baseball team wins. Usually when a certain guy in the baseball team, I'm not going to spoil anything, when he hits a home run, then the killer strikes. And it's only at night games. It's a weird story.
It's a weird premise, yeah.
I only watched it because it was on my Amazon Prime watch list, and it was like leaving Amazon in like 2 days. I'm like, I'll watch that. I'll get that out the way. It was good. It has some weird elements. Like the main character's central relationship, he's like a detective in the police force, but he has a relationship with like a girl that's just turned 18, or she's not very old, and it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, the downside to the 80s. Or any movie made before 15 years ago.
It's kind of creepy, right?
Yeah.
And it gets brought up a couple of times in the movie, and like there's a scene that I really liked, but for the wrong reason, right? It's meant to be like, I guess, a funny kind of moment in the movie with like a comic relief kind of moment where there's like a bad guy, but he's a bad guy because he's 19 and he's going out with a 17-year-old, and he turns around to the main character, Roy Schneider, and he says, "But aren't you dating a girl that's young enough to be your daughter?" And like Roy Schneider's character smacks the kid. And it's meant to be like a haha, bad, chuck him in the police car moment. But I'm like, the kid has a
he's
point, and
right.
you just assaulted him.
Yeah.
Like a 2, yeah, sure, it's, she's under 18, but there's only 2 years between these kids. Leave them alone.
Yeah, especially when you're doing that. Unless that's the point, is they're trying
Unless
to...
that's the, yeah.
But the way you're saying it,
but the rest of the movie, they don't frame it that way.
Yeah.
It's meant to be like a really loving, kind of tender relationship.
Yeah.
They're soulmates, all this kind of stuff, but
No, mate.
no, mate, it's creepy. Yeah. Especially later on in the movie, they allude to the fact that Roy Schneider also might have had a relationship with this girl's mother in the decades previous when they were kids. Adds another element to like problematic.
It's like she literally could be his daughter.
No, it's they say when we were kids many years ago. Like they kind of they make clear that there's no kind of.
But if you have to make that clear. You probably shouldn't do it. If you're just making like an action thriller,
just stay away from that.
Unless this is what the movie's about, probably just stay away.
Look, I'm not saying it's Roy Schneider executively producing the movie being like, I want a young wife in this one. Yeah. There's, I'm sure there's elements of that where it's, the problematic side to Hollywood, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah.
Aside from that aspect of the movie, which is kind of uncomfortable, it was good. Yeah. There's some nice kind of slasher gore. Okay. The movie's not a slasher. It's like a crime thriller.
Yeah.
But they also don't shy away from like
the killing,
and the violence in the movie. The violence is effective, and there's some good prosthetic kind of
80s baby,
blood spurting, squibs, and that kind of stuff. It's really really well done.
Yeah.
The other 80s classic I watched recently is Fletch.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to watch the second one, which apparently isn't as good.
I don't remember it being as good.
But I got the book. I got the first book to read as well.
Oh, cool!
Because it's like 11 books in the series.
Yeah, and they made that new one recently
Confess
with John
Fletch,
Hamm. Yeah, which is closer to the book apparently.
Yeah,
in
so
its tone
I added these movies to my watch list ages ago when Confess Fletch got released on streaming services quite recently. But I had these other two lined up, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I just got around to it. I really liked it. It strikes a balance between kind of like almost like hard-boiled noir and comedy, like slapstick kind of classic 80s comedy. Yeah, doesn't take itself too seriously.
I think like because
Chevy Chase is brutal in his just comments.
Yeah, I think again that's I've ever since we started this show, I feel like an old man. But yeah, it's like they don't make movies like that anymore.
You know what it is? It's because you watch older movies and then you go to the movies to see newer movies.
Yeah,
you can tell.
Yeah,
it's not a matter of age or being critical about anything.
I think
it's just a matter of paying attention to when you're seeing a movie to how they made things back in the day.
Yeah, it's the craft and the storytelling. Exactly. Yeah,
I think anyone of any maturity can go and see movies and have an understanding that there are shortcuts now that they would not have taken back in the day.
Yeah, it's just, and the industry has changed so much, especially with streaming, that just the way they make even cheap B movies in the 80s versus cheap B movies now is so different. Yeah.
So I've been having a good time with my kind of like 80s classics.
Oh, look, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but you could just stay in the 80s forever and just like watch.
By the time you get to the end of it, you just start again.
Yeah, because I still do that thing where to not oversaturate myself, like I try to pick movies from a different decade every time I watch. But sometimes I just want to just be like 80s, 70s, 70s, 80s, 80s. Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't go wrong with.
Yeah. So that's what I've been enjoying lately in my movie watching.
Yeah.
Callum, what movies have you
can you
watching?
Remember?
Yeah, I can remember too. That's awful, isn't it? I've been watching heaps of movies. I'm like,
it's.
You watch Face Off.
No, I'm watching Face Off. I had to go to bed.
I told Callum, I'm like, I watch so much stuff, I have to write it all down. So I have a watch list, and then I have a watched list. Yeah. And that's why I'm able to sort of go through and remember.
Jog your memory.
Yeah.
I did start watching Face Off. Now, have you got that on Blu-ray?
No. Do you want to talk about when you finished watching it?
Oh, just my initial impression of the actual Blu-ray quality. I wasn't that impressed. It's very like grain is good normally, right?
Yeah.
But it has a kind of what I want to call like a long grain to it.
It might be like DNRs, like they tried to get rid of the grain and it didn't.
But it makes some of the scenes look really nice, but then like there'll be like another scene with John Travolta and it'll look fuzzy.
I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like all the Face-Off Blu-rays that have come out so far have come out a while ago. There hasn't been a new one.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a very early Blu-ray of them just like slapping it on a disc and not.
Yeah, I think it might be because like some scenes look fine, but then other scenes look fuzzy. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch it. Obviously, you can't help it. You know what I mean? But I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I think it's just an older Blu-ray.
At least it's not 1080i.
I mean, it might be. Did you check the back of the box?
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that movie except for the obvious stuff.
Meme potential.
Yeah, the memeage, the over the top One True Godness.
Yeah.
I've got a One True God movie later as well. But yeah, I like 4K. A good 4K of that would be a good 4K of any movie. Even movies I hate, gotta restore these movies. Gotta remaster these movies.
Yeah, gotta keep them for future generations.
Them. Exactly.
Archive them, yeah.
Because otherwise they just disappear.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I watched the first movie I'll talk about is the Darjeeling Limited, which I don't know if I've seen before. So like I've said this on the show before. I actually have a really terrible memory. Like I guess like long term for movies I've seen. So it's like some of these movies I might have seen before, but I'm re-experiencing them.
Don't take this the wrong way, Callum, because I mean, I've always made fun of you for it, but like I always say, Callum has the memory of a goldfish.
No, I do. I honestly do.
Like even when he was younger, this isn't a recent thing.
No. Yeah, it's always been that way. Anyway, I watched the Darjeeling Limited and it moved me.
I love that movie.
It has such pathos in it, and like it's about these brothers, all whom are going through their own individual trauma of some
So Wes
kind.
Anderson.
Wes Anderson classic, set in mostly in India. It's like they get together with their brother Francis. Owen Wilson's Francis. So
Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, and Jason Schwartzman.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
And they come from, I guess, a rich family,
like a wealthy American.
Yeah.
Family,
and they're going on a trip in India to reconnect with each other after being apart for some time.
Yeah.
And
doesn't their dad die? Isn't that why the movie starts?
Correct.
Yeah. That's why they all come back together.
So what happens is they get invited to a train called the Darjeeling Limited by their oldest brother Francis, who was in a car accident before the start of the film. And he's like, our dad's just died. I almost died. I want us to try and reconnect and grow spiritually along this journey through this train. So they can, at each stop, they'll hit up, he has a whole list, an itinerary, and they'll hit up a temple and do this. He has a whole plan.
Gurus.
And it's like, it's just about the dynamic between the brothers, their own personal lives. Jason Schwartzman's character is a writer who writes short stories and novels and stuff. And he has this whole thing with Natalie Portman. Also, just pause. Wes Anderson's such a genius. So like he starts the movie with a little short movie it's like Jason Schwartzman and Natalie Portman in a hotel room and it's really interesting.
It's like the prequel to the
Anyway, the movie goes on and that's the short story he writes at the end of the film. And like it's so cleverly done.
Yeah.
He's a genius, and that's probably one of my favorite movies from his.
I remember we talked about this. I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the show because Nathan watched it for the first time last year.
Last year or the year before.
And I remember we talked about it because I'm pretty sure I said the same thing. Is like I'm a bit of a hipster when it comes to Wes Anderson, who's already kind of hipsterish in his visuals or aesthetic. But it's like everyone loves Royal Tenenbaums. I'm like, I like Royal Tenenbaums, but like I kind of prefer Bottle Rocket, his first movie, and it's like everyone loves Rushmore. It's like, I love Rushmore, but I kind of prefer Darjeeling Limited.
Darjeeling Limited is one of his best movies, in my opinion.
But if you look it up online, people are like, it's one of his lesser movies.
They're wrong. It's okay to be wrong.
No, it's okay to be wrong. I mean, we're the Tuesday review. We're always right.
Yeah.
Like the cinematography in the Darjeeling Limited, it just takes my breath away.
Like people take the piss out of Wes Anderson online and especially like in the AI age, people are saying, Wes Anderson makes Blade Runner, and they come up with all these douchebaggy
Bill Murray in a trench coat.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, the colors are so bright. He like dripping with color, and you can, you know what I mean? It's like a sensory experience.
You guys saw the trailer for Asteroid City. It's like the color in that like made my eyes burn. It was just like, whoa.
It's a sensory experience. You know what I mean? It's like he brings a world to life, which is what
also his movies are really funny, and I don't think maybe some people don't get.
So it's a very specific type of humor.
So they're really funny, but they also have a vein of tragedy in them.
Oh yeah.
Which is what
there's
makes
a melancholy to it.
Yeah, which is what makes him such a powerful storyteller.
It's kind of. obviously he has his own visual flair, but he shares a lot with the writing. I feel with like someone like Noah Baumbach in that kind of like there's that
the
kind
family
of comedy.
dysfunction element.
There's dysfunction.
It's like a black dark comedy. Yeah.
But the even just the scene, like the interactions on the train, I thought were really interesting.
Yeah.
Sweet Lime, Rita, the stewardess on the train, and her tragic story, and that fling she has with Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
I thought was really interesting. But just like exploring Indian cities and the countryside.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Like I said, it pulls at the emotional heartstrings to see, the way they change. Midway through the movie,
don't spoil it.
Yeah, a tragic event occurs.
Yeah.
And then there's a big tonal shift. And then that arc plays itself out, and then it's back to the boys' trip.
But it's not like it feels jarring.
No. It's expertly done because it breaks up you think you're getting comfortable in the way the story's being told, and then it breaks it up.
Yeah.
And provides it provides like the spiritual drive that they went there to fulfill anyway. It's like this event that, in a strange way, needed to happen for them to
get over their grief
and
bond
together. Yeah. And so it just blew me away. Like very few. Like there are very few auteurs like Wes Anderson who can be going for so long, because he's been going for quite a few years now.
Bottle Rocket was 96, I want to say.
Yeah, and
I might be wrong.
And still be producing work. I mean, Darjeeling Limited is not new, but I'm assuming we'll be talking. We'll be singing his praises.
City.
I'm assuming we'll be singing his praises when
Asteroid City comes out during the MIF, so we're going to try to fit it in.
And he's got another one coming out.
That's a short one for Netflix, short movie for Netflix.
Oh, really?
Like
with Benedict Cumberbatch is in it.
Huh, cool.
He's doing something. It's only going to be like 40 minutes long or something like that.
But my point is, to be still going and still making home runs. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
No, anyway,
he's great.
Yeah, that was an interesting film, and it's a good film when you. I mean, not all good films. Some bad films have this effect, but you keep thinking about it. You'll be going about your business and you just be thinking about it, like certain scenes.
That's how you know. That's the mark of a good film.
Yeah,
is like
some
you
bad
think
movies
about
stay
it
with you, James.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing we've talked about before. Is like there's the really good movies and really bad movies. At least you have something to talk and think about afterwards. Whereas a mediocre, like middle of the road movie is just meh, and you don't. Yeah. And that's probably worse than a bad movie.
For listeners, we're referring to the locked room in James's brain with the modern Star Wars.
I don't think it's locked. It's like bursting. It's like
it was like we watched Black Widow once, and that was the only time I thought about it until right now.
I wish you didn't remind me of that garbage.
So then
I've been reminded of it recently because of Secret Invasion.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So after that, I watched. I did plan to watch the Robert Langdon trilogy of Blu-rays.
Yeah, the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, I watched Da Vinci Code.
Angels and Demons. Yeah. What's the last one called?
Inferno.
Oh, yeah.
I watched just the Da Vinci Code since the other two are pretty fresh in my mind. Like I know those ones, but I haven't seen the Da Vinci Code in a while.
Okay, so you just decided to watch the first one, but you kind of remember the second.
Yeah. It kind of was like, oh yeah, and then this happens, and then they go here, and then there's a national treasure element in Inferno, and blah blah blah. But so I watched it, and it made me think. We've had a discussion a couple times on the show about definitive editions of movies, specifically with adaptations.
Yeah.
And this one was directed by Ron Howard, who is an director, I should say, of some great skill.
Yeah.
Ron Howard can do good movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it was the source material of the Da Vinci Code or if it was just the script they used. But the exposition, when an exposition can be a good thing.
Well, we talked about Nolan last week. I love that stuff.
But the exposition in this film is really like it beats you over the head with it. It doesn't help enhance the world building. It's just like, oh, look, it's a cross, and we know it's a cross because of this, and tells us we have to go here.
I've never read the book, so I'm probably talking out of my ass. But from what I understand, the book is very simplistic in its... What's the word? Like that kind of throwaway... Pulpy, like, literature of, like, the kind of churning out of... Here's a new fun adventure, and it's not...
So Dan Brown's an interesting one because keep in mind, cousins out there, the common perception of the Da Vinci Code is that it's pretty throwaway.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and I've read like all his books, I actually really like Dan Brown.
Okay.
His at least his Robert Langdon trilogy, they straddle the line between like actual mystery literature and pulp. because he takes a grand premise with an actual interesting puzzle, and he kind of pulps it down a bit. So it's like,
short
chapters. You can see where it's coming.
Yeah,
almost.
But the overall like puzzle journey, like that's not something that's foreign to pulp novels.
No,
in fact, it's probably more suited to pulp novels.
But it's like the way the issues that he investigates aren't the kind of issues you'd get in a cheap yellow detective novel. It's like
it's not that level of but I'm just talking about what are those books on the shelf? It's like John Grisham or whatever. It's like the same thing over and over, and it's like only like senior citizens read them.
Airport books.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes, that's what I think of when I think of Dan Brown and Da Vinci Code. So I think any problems the movie has might stem from that.
One thing I
could read Dan Brown books because they involve conspiracies.
That doesn't mean you can't. I'm not saying you can't like them or you're stupid for reading them. I'm just saying if the movie has a problem, it could stem from the fact that it's a very simple kind of...
That's right. So the issue I have is that like you can get away with a lot of exposition in novels because the way you write in novels is a bit different. It lends itself more to on the page,
the author has a voice.
That's right. Whereas I think that, we've talked about adaptations on the show many times. When you're going to be adapting something like a Dan Brown book to the screen, you might need to change some dialogue. You might need to change the way information is expressed to the audience.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're going to have to show rather than tell because it suits the screen medium. So I'm watching this and I'm like, it's good. Tom Hanks does a good Langdon. All the actors are great. The cinematography's nice. I'm assuming it was filmed on film because it looks like
it was a while ago. So I assume so.
2007, which is kind of late, but it looks like it's filmed to me. But anyway, it looks great. It's got some good acting. It's got Magneto in it. I'm blanking.
Ian McKellen?
Yeah, Ian McKellen's in it, and I forgot he was in it. So I'm watching. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Is this the one with Paul Bettany where he plays the weird monk?
Correct. Yeah.
That's the only thing I really remember where he's like self-flagellating. Yeah. And wasn't that movie PG-13? And I'm like, hey, how did they get away with this?
He's a member of Opus Dei, much like the Premier of, is it New South Wales?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so we shouldn't go into it.
That's fine.
I have a lot to say. But.
Just an interesting connection. I don't think there's any self-flagellation going on in New South Wales.
Oh, I don't know. That guy's
more than usual.
Yeah.
Anyway,
wait, is this the form? Wait, because they got a new premier, the Labour guy. Are you talking about the Liberal guy?
I can't remember.
The weirdo religious.
The weirdo religious. Yeah.
No, okay, yeah. No, because the new guy, he's...
Yeah.
Yeah,
correct. I apologize.
Yeah. Sure, that guy's got some skeletons.
But yeah, the way the story progresses, I found much too heavy-handed in its exposition. I was watching it like, oh man, I can tell it's a screenplay.
It was 35. It was 35mm.
Oh,
yeah,
well, there
it
you
makes
go.
sense because 2007 is still kind of not where digital cameras,
which is to me is the mark of an awkward screenplay when you're watching it and you're like, oh, it sounds like a screenplay. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that this is one of those movies where I'd absolutely be interested in seeing another attempt. And at the whole trilogy, frankly, like Ron Howard did an okay job, but the way the script lets it down.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't read the novels, but I assume a lot of that stems from the airport pulpy nature of the book, and it's just like, here's a safe film for your mum and dad to go see. It has some spicy stuff, but it's not.
There's a little bit of violence, but it's an interesting mystery, and it's got Tom Hanks.
It's got Tom Hanks. Yeah, exactly. He's very safe, actor. It's like, it's going to delve into secrets behind the church, but not really,
but not criticize.
Yeah, it's not criticize them at all, and not really talk about any of the real.
They're good secrets.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all magic, and it doesn't actually affect the real world.
It's look. I mean, so for I don't believe in Jesus as a historical figure myself. Which apologies. I just don't. I'm sorry.
People know what show they're listening to.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying he's a bad
Not that
dude.
they can't.
No. You know what I mean? Like, I have no criticism of Jesus. I'm just, to me, I just don't know.
Jesus is a cool guy because he was definitely a socialist, and we're all about that.
Yeah, 100%. He was. Yeah. Anyway.
Get off
the
track.
movie. The movie deals in the mystery of what is the Holy Grail. And it's the search for the Holy Grail. So it starts off with, one lead, and it takes you in a rabbit hole through France and Rome or whatever.
Like you said, the National Treasure, Indiana Jones thing.
And I love that
the
stuff.
Painting is actually pointing at the clue.
Correct.
And,
Give me the map and the travel to a new city.
Da Vinci actually painted this to point you in the right direction.
Give me another, an assassin trying to hunt them down before they uncover the secret.
And a secret cult.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And he does that really well in all of his books, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's his main.
But yeah, I want to see another attempt. You know,
a
different screenplay, a fresh set of eyes on it. I think it could be a masterpiece. You know, someone like I think I put in our secret Tuesday review chat. I'd like to see Denis Villeneuve. Give it a shot, because I think that, you know, with his style
visually,
of directing,
his
his style of storytelling,
or like Fincher, and just go nuts. With
oh my god, yeah.
or would it be better slowed down and do like a mini series?
Yeah,
well,
too.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I 100% can see, not too far in the future, a Netflix or Amazon series of the Robert Langdon.
Yeah, and
books.
that could be great.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing, well, yeah, but I mean, again,
yeah, like I don't hate it, but I'd rather read the book. You know what I mean? Like.
I think you're also a very book guy. Like you read a lot and you read very quickly. I think there are a lot of people who have heard about the book, but will just go to see the movie.
The book has tiny chapters, James, so it's
It's easy to read. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, but it's also a page turner. Like, even if Dan Brown, I should say, gets a bad rap because he's this guy who puts at the front of his books based on a true story. And like,
that's where the controversy.
I remember when the book came out, and it was like people were like, "What is this garbage?"
The correct approach is to say, "Cool story, bro," and then you move on. You read his novel.
But also, I like that kind of thing. Like, you know, the Coen brothers did it with Fargo. It's just like they said it was a true story, but it wasn't. And I like that kind of meta, like.
Yeah, but there's a difference, right? The Coen brothers won't go to their grave saying it really happened.
Maybe, yeah. But Dan Brown is like deluded himself. But
Dan Brown, there's a rabbit hole that Dan Brown.
Coen brothers were being kind of cheeky, tongue in cheek, yeah.
Yeah, the Coen brothers are tongue in cheek, but Dan Brown, he digs a hole and he jumps in it himself.
Okay, He's like, I actually researched this, and this is all. Yeah.
But you know, I love the man. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's a good author. You know, but
it's fiction.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so those are the two movies I watched. I'm going to start trying to write them down so I have more to talk about.
I told you, like, I write them all down.
But I have some more stuff later if we get to games.
All right, well, look, we'll go to a very quick break, and then we'll be back with what James has been watching lately. You are back on the Tuesday review. We're taking it easy this week. What movies have you been watching this week, lately, James?
So I've been, like I was talking about last week and probably the last couple of weeks, I've been super busy. It's been really hectic. But I did watch some stuff over the last week or so that I thought would be good to talk about. I watched They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
which is that new movie with Jamie Foxx and John Boyega, about like a sort of drug dealer in a like poor neighborhood, who finds out there's some like conspiracy shenanigans, sci-fi shenanigans going on, and he has to question his reality and question his place in the world. And it was Netflix movies can mean many different things, and we've always been champions of the quote-unquote good ones, or the ones made by...
The marriage stories of the service.
Yeah, exactly. The ones made by like legit filmmakers. And then there are the other ones where you're like, this is very... this is a Netflix movie. Like, this is very throwaway.
It wasn't made by a director. It was made by the studio.
Yes, this is content for the service.
A bit of a bright feeling about it.
And this one, the trailer for this looked good, and I like John Boyega and whatever, but I'm like, this could have gone either way, and I'm happy to report it's actually quite good. I think you guys will enjoy it, and I recommend watching it. It's, on Netflix, so it's accessible to most people. Yeah. And I really liked it. It's got this kind of... I don't think it was shot on film, but it's got a very grainy... I think it's a deliberate... it might have been shot on film, but I assumed it was digitally.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but it's got a very grainy... And it's set in modern day, but it's got a very deliberate 70s kind of blaxploitation vibe. And there's a sort of humor. It's like funny, but also there's like serious moments. And especially John Boyega is really good at that kind of vulnerable, it's kind of serious, kind of emotional side. So it's a good movie. Check it out.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I have a feeling it was digital.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Although, like, film now is too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also we saw Renfield recently.
Oh yeah, we watched that. couple weeks ago. It was okay.
It was okay because I only remembered it because we were talking about the One True God before.
Oh yeah, he's in my next movie. Yeah, it was so like I remember it came out the cinema, and if we had time and money, we probably would have went. It's a movie that we would kind of
Nicolas Cage plays Dracula.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just like
I'm
we
down
kind of
by the
have to, even if it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
It's obligation.
Yeah.
But like we were just kind of busy, and it's just like, do we really want to?
Yeah.
And but now it's on streaming,
So we got around to it.
We watched it the other night, and I'd say it's like, it's not awful, but it's just kind of meh.
Yeah.
You know how
it's
I was just
middle of the road Nicolas Cage. It's the middle of the road Nicolas Cage era
So
where he finds himself in now.
Yeah, after the movie finished, I said to Nathan, I'm like, and we were with Alam, who's not really tuned into the whole One True God filmography. But I'm like, there's like 3 tiers of Nicolas Cage. There's his classic kind of 80s, 90s, early 2000s where he's like, he's a great actor. He's an Oscar winner. He's knocking it out of the park. Yes, he's a bit crazy in some roles, but he's making good stuff. Then there's the kind of made for the last 15 years of like made for DVD, straight to DVD movies. Like he's just doing it for the money.
The tax bill.
He's still doing
he still owes money to the IRS.
Yeah, he's still doing crazy stuff that we enjoy watching, but those movies are garbage. And then there's like in between stuff,
like Pig.
Yeah, where it's just like it's the new stuff, but it's like real movies.
Mandy.
In between, yeah, exactly. It's the real movies kind of go in between.
In between the paychecks.
The kind of straight to DVD throwaway garbage. Yeah. And then there's Renfield, I'd say, is in between those, where it's not all the way throwaway garbage, but it's not like a legit masterpiece like Pig.
No, I think, because it's interesting, because as you said, a lot of his movies in the last 10, 15 years have been straight to DVD or straight to streaming or kind of not as accessible, we'll say. Like, they're not going to be in all the theatres everywhere.
Not as mainstream. Theatrical release, yeah.
But Renfield was a big theatrical release.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's kind of where
if you told me that was a straight to streaming movie or straight to DVD, I would have been like, it makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. So it's in between those two in kind of, I guess, budgetary terms as well, because it's like it looks nice.
It's fine,
but it's average like his other movies.
There are some bits where I was like, oh, I like that idea, I like that prosthetic, but overall, I was like, it's kind of boring, kind of not really anything special. It's worth watching if you're a Nick Cage fan. Yeah. But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't hate it.
All right. Sorry to take you off topic.
No, that's okay.
What else did you watch?
So speaking of One True God, aka Nicholas Kim Coppola, aka Nicolas Cage, I got the 4K Blu-ray of Lord of War.
Oh, nice.
Which I hadn't seen in a while, and I'm like, I really want to watch this movie, and it came out in 4K, and I spent too much more money than I should have on the steelbook version because it's got like a
comes with a real gun.
Comes with a bullet. Yeah. That would be cool actually. Like a bullet keychain or something. It comes like the front artwork is like Nicolas Cage's face, and then it's like in the background, and then it's got him. I don't know if you remember the start of the movie, standing and there's all the bullet shells all across the floor. And so it's like that. And then it's got like a plastic sleeve where you pull the plastic sleeve off.
And like the bullets like fall?
The sunglasses that he's wearing and the big picture he's taken off. And all the bullets reveal that there's just blood underneath.
Oh, right.
So it's really nice. Maybe I'll put a picture on the Instagram if I can find a good one. So it's a really nice steelbook and with a cool slipcover gimmick. But anyway, the movie itself, the 4K looked really nice. It was really good restoration. And yeah, I hadn't seen it in a while and I remembered certain things from it. But it was good to rewatch it. Yeah. And it's a good movie.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's got some bits where I'm like, oh, it's a bit... hasn't aged too well, but overall I'm like, oh, this is a really good movie. And
is
especially
Jared Leto in that film, or am I thinking of a different
one? Yeah, he plays the brother.
Yeah.
He like, especially after seeing Oppenheimer recently, and there's the whole thing about like weapons of mass destruction and war, and is this is it, what's the moral implications of and this movie about a gunrunner, arms dealer, And he's like, I don't take sides, I just sell. And it's just like,
yeah.
And he's trying to wash his hands of it and think like, I'm not the problem.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah, and he's just like, it's this sleazy kind of salesman character who keeps doing the wrong thing and trying to justify it. And it's just interesting, especially like, just the whole military industrial complex. And
it's fascinating, yeah.
With the way weapons are bought and sold.
Especially there's so many layers to it, because there's like companies within shell companies and there's like paperwork,
government contracts, and it's all very slimy.
It's a whole rabbit hole.
I feel like a good double feature would be Lord of War and then War Dogs.
Yeah. I've never seen War Dogs. I think we talked about it once.
It's Lord of War with Jonah Hill.
It's like a comedy version.
It's based on a true story too, so it's like the guy's own story. I don't know if he wrote the screenplay or he just sold his story.
It's definitely a biographical film. Like it's about a guy that really existed, and they did really take the piss with the government contracts.
And then he ended up getting in trouble over it. It's pretty good. It's not as good as Lord of War probably, but it's an interesting story because it's based more in reality than.
But I was thinking about it. I'm like, there's been a couple of movies over the last, let's say, 10 years, like American made, of like, he's a gun runner or a drug smuggler. But I feel like there haven't been that many and they haven't been very good. Whereas I feel like if you look at like the late 90s, early 2000s, you had a lot of kind of movies like that, like Blow, and like just movies
that
about...
storytelling moved to streaming, moved to TV.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you got all the Narcos,
maybe
cartels,
you're right.
sort of.
Yeah.
I think it all moved over.
Even like war movies that unless you're Nolan, they don't really make them.
Nah, it's all on TV now.
Yeah.
It's not a superhero movie, James. We've been over this.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just I was watching. I'm like, because there's a whole thing about in Lord of War about him going to Africa and selling AK-47s to the warring factions over there, and I'm like, it's really cool stuff, and visually, it's a great movie too. All the attention to detail and the cinematography and stuff, and the lengths they went to. Again, they don't make movies like that anymore.
No.
But also, I was watching it. I'm like, I remember Black Hawk Down. That was so cool. I remember like, Tears of the Sun. That was so cool. Like all these like
was
African.
That one, Three Kings? Was that a film?
Yeah, Three Kings. I never really liked that movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's by that guy who beat up.
Oh yeah.
We don't talk about him.
Yeah.
No comment. But yeah, that kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, like Middle East, African, like war movie. I'm like, it's like a kind of cool kind of thing. And I'm like, they don't make movies like that anymore. But yeah, Lord of War is awesome. It was great to rewatch it. The 4K looked really nice. And probably everyone knows the story of how they like bought 3,000 real AK-47s because it was cheaper than getting all prop guns. So all the guns you see in that scene are real. And there's like 60 tanks all lined up that they bought, that they rented from a Czech arms dealer.
Ridiculous.
And actually filmed it. So like when you watch this movie, it's not all CGI garbage like it would be now. And the authenticity.
Man, I don't work in movie insurance, but I'm getting nervous thinking about it.
Oh yeah, and even like I was watching the behind the scenes, and the director and the producer were talking about it. It's like to make the movie, they kind of had to make deals with and get in bed with some of these arms dealer
kind
guys.
of people they're making a movie.
Yeah, and it's just like they were kind of like, it's not a great feeling.
The movie makes you look very good. The movie makes you look very good. Please don't watch it when it comes out.
But it's also like, are we kind of feeding into their... Yeah. So that's another kind of moral conundrum. I've heard that the director and Nicolas Cage want to do a sequel, and I hope it doesn't happen because I don't think it'll be good. And like I said, they don't make movies like that anymore. If they do make it, like I just said with Lethal Weapon, they'll make it in such a way where it's very flat, digital, Netflixy.
Yeah.
Although Nicolas Cage there's a movie on my watch list, haven't watched it yet, a recent one called The Old Way, which looks kind of interesting.
Is that a Western? Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Looks kind of interesting.
Sometimes it's a gamble with his movies because you're like, this one might be an okay...
That's the trick. They all look interesting.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them are like just straight up, that's going to be garbage.
Yeah.
But then other of them, you're like, that could be an okay one.
The one he's got coming out soon with Joel Kinnaman, The Passenger, I think it's called.
The Devil. Ride with
the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil?
Sympathy for the Devil. I'm interested in that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's. I feel like he's on the up at the moment, slightly.
I mean, what was that movie? Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
That was kind of like.
I liked it.
That was like a real movie,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but it's like, so he's like got a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
And, Pig was amazing. So, yeah, I think, he's got so many that you still have to be wary of, like, is this a real one
when
or is it
releases 3, 4, 5 movies a year.
It's like, is it a real one or is it a tax situation? Yeah. And then I watched, I got Cool Hand Luke on 4K.
Never seen that.
Which, you'll love it. It's classic with a capital C. I also bought the steelbook for that. I can't help myself. I have a problem. Please donate to our Patreon that doesn't exist, just to
fund
to support
habit,
me. Fund my habit. Please fund my habit. But I got the steelbook, which has a cool artwork, and the 4K restoration of that is really, really nice. It looked spectacular. And I hadn't seen the movie in a while. It's been a while since I last watched it. And yeah, it's such a good movie. Like, I think everything that's been said about Cool Hand Luke has already been said. But it's one of those movies where, you know how we've talked about before, he's like, you watch an old movie and it's like, old movies were better.
Yeah.
And again, like I just said earlier in the show, I don't want to sound like an old man, but they kind of were. And I mean, I didn't grow up in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, but I kind of like, I'm like, movies were just...
So, movies reflect the attitudes of the time. At least they're written to engage you.
But just, I'm talking the filmmaking.
Yeah, no,
they
definitely.
built stuff.
Again, but they reflect the needs of the time. And like it or not, the needs of the current audience...
Yeah.
A digital
CG heavy. Kids don't have the problem with
attention spans.
It's attention span issues largely.
I don't think it's just that. I think we've talked about this before. It's also the studios wanting to. Filmmaking,
they're feeding the content machine.
Filmmaking, we talked about before. And filmmaking used to be the compromise between art and commerce, and now it's gone full commerce. And unless you're A24, you're only thinking about the content you're churning out to make a dollar.
Yeah. And obviously we've had some exceptions recently with Oppenheimer and Barbie, but I think there is an element of the fact that they make these movies flashy, grabby visually, or they with CG.
Yeah.
And the stories have to be... That's why there's a joke every 30 seconds to keep people engaged. People, it's the TikTok generation.
It's funny you say that.
Again, I sound like an old man.
All right, because we saw, we reviewed Barbie recently and we loved it. And then it turns out that there are people who unironically think it sucked because they didn't understand the types of jokes that the movie was giving them. And I was thinking about it, Nathan just said, it's because they don't have the joke every 30 seconds. Barbie has a lot of jokes. But some of them are low-hanging fruit. But some of them are like reference other movies, or they reference other.
There is, other
we
talked about when we reviewed it. That's why,
we liked it.
We were all laughing because there was Godfather and this reference, and then the BBC Pride and Prejudice and whatever. Yeah. But it's also got that type of humor that I've talked about before that I really like, is that absurdist kind of silly humor that I really gravitate towards, which some people don't like.
Yeah, but it's like most movies don't do that. Most movies are in the, he's standing right behind me, isn't he, kind of joke.
Yeah, the Marvel quips.
The quips.
Speaking of Barbie, I did watch I did Barbenheimer again. I watched Oppenheimer and Barbie for the second time. Like I said last week, there was a friend who hadn't seen it, so I went with him. And
IMAX or just normal cinema?
No, I just did normal Oppenheimer. And
did you notice? Obviously, you noticed.
Yeah, especially the first half. I was just like, the first hour. I was just like, wow. If you can see it in IMAX, I recommend you do so, because you lose a lot.
So you need to. So do you lean over to your friend and say you have no idea what you're missing?
Yeah. It was a shame. I mean, I would like to go into IMAX, but it's just probably not something I can do.
Did your friend enjoy him?
Yes, he did very much. But even if you can't see it in IMAX, it's definitely worth seeing on the big screen. And seeing it again the second time, it was really, it's still a really good experience. And last week I said that it's not an IMAX showcase movie, and there's a lot of indoor courtroom kind of
slow pace.
So it's like the IMAX might not be the best for that, but it still helps with a lot of those scenes, and especially the Trinity kind of stuff, the Los Alamos, the landscape stuff. You lose a lot of that when it's cut off. You know, the IMAX is cut off, and you just get the normal screen. But yeah, really good movie. And then we had dinner and we watched Barbie, and that was awesome again. So good. Those movies are so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cool Hand Luke, classic. I don't know what else to say. There's so many great actors in that movie. It's crazy. I forgot Dennis Hopper was in that movie. I mean, yeah, it's one of those movies where we talked about before is like, I miss that kind of era of filmmaking, whereas character actors who look like real people, kind of sweaty guy, and especially it's a prison movie, so it's like sweaty guys smoking.
That's what I watched.
Yeah, oh, you remembered?
Yeah, you finish.
No, you go.
I rewatched Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, classic.
Talk about sweaty.
Yeah, classic. Talk about classics with a C and prison movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a great film.
You know, when people, yeah, it's one of, this has been said many times, but I think Shawshank is a great example of this. It's not only a great movie, but it's a movie that if it's on TV, you have to sit down and watch it. It's that kind of movie.
It's such an interesting film because, of course, based on Stephen King, who based on one of his works, Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption.
Was a short story?
Novella. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I will, to my dying days, maintain that during my lifetime, Stephen King was the greatest living American author. Which is a bold statement, a very bold statement.
We've talked about before, it's like maybe he doesn't get appreciation as much because he's very prolific and he writes mostly horror.
He's the Nicolas Cage of American authors.
His hit rate is probably a bit higher than Cage's.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's probably got a higher hit rate.
But man, what a story!
I think that's also a testament to Frank Darabont, who directed it, and I assume co-wrote the screenplay or wrote the screenplay.
Because it's got highs, it's got lows, it's funny, it's sad, it makes you mad, it makes you hopeful. It's got all of these. It's like it's such a strange comparison to make, but it makes me feel the same way that the original Trainspotting 2 does, or Trainspotting 1, where it's this mix of emotions. It's happy, sad, makes you mad, hopeful, because I guess despair.
He's in a dark situation. He's in a dark place.
Yeah.
But there's these moments of levity and humanity.
Yeah, and it's woven together in this wonderful story.
And it's so cinematically told.
I think the last time I saw it was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was relatively fresh for me, Some of the scenes
it wouldn't be fresh.
No. I mean, it was fresh.
It was a fresh experience.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. And man, like that scene where they're drinking beer on the roof.
Yeah. That's a very, Cool Hand Luke, like that kind of prison, yeah.
And then like the everyday evil nature of the warden. You know what I mean? He's not some...
Have we named an episode that don't make him like that anymore? I'm sure we have.
We'll check
it up, because if not, I think we probably have to. But yeah, Shawshank Redemption only came out 25 years ago. Oh no, almost 30 now.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But still, they don't make movies like that.
No, they don't. But like the everyday evil of the warden, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have a villain who's this mustache twirling.
Yeah, like there's the warden. There's the warden who's like evil, and then there's the Clancy Brown head of the guards guy who's just like strict. Vicious. He's strict, but he has a kind of moral code or something.
Kind of. He's the guy who will do what the warden tells him to do, but he'll also rub your back if you rub his.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Tim Robbins, such a powerful actor, like I
haven't seen him in
that's
in a while,
what I was watching it. I'm like, I think he kind of dropped off for a while. I don't know what he's been doing. He was in what was that TV show? He was in
that other. Yeah, he was in that other Stephen King one as well.
Oh,
the Castle Rock. Was it Castle Rock?
Oh, Castle Rock. Yeah. I don't know if he was in. Yeah.
He was in season 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
That was a show that was kind of went downhill.
Was he in the that comedy HBO TV show?
Look it up.
The Brink. Yeah, I think he was
in The Brink, which got cancelled. That's a good show.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, just when he gets out of the sewer and he's in, you can see him.
Classic.
When Morgan Freeman digs up the thing.
Spoilers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a movie where I'm not going to call spoilers on, because if you haven't seen it, get your act into gear.
Just when Morgan Freeman escapes and he can't live in the real world, and that's something I find interesting too. This whole nature of being in prison for life. you get out and the world's a scary place, and Paul Brooks can't handle it. You know what I mean?
That's a great moment. And then not a great, but you know what I mean.
No, and then when Red gets out, he has to make a choice. And I could list off every scene in the film. I'm not going to waste our listeners' time.
I know it's almost boring to say, oh, Shawshank's a really great movie, one of the best movies, but it's so good.
But it literally is. Yeah. It literally is. It's like I said, it's pulls at the heartstrings. You know what I mean? It's such a great, emotionally impactful in film. And that's what I've been watching.
Yeah. All right, that's enough.
Yeah, I reckon that's all the time we've got for tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone. Again, we won't be doing a live show for our live listeners or releasing a podcast for our podcast listeners for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
We'll be at the Melbourne International Film Festival. Come say hi.
So
keep an eye on the socials at Tuesday Review AU, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
Yes. We should be back Tuesday the 22nd, but if not, keep an eye on the social media and you'll be updated, and hopefully we'll be posting a lot of cool stuff about the festival.
We'll be trying to be on top of it anyway.
Hopefully, we probably won't be too tired and watching too many movies.
But if we post when we're there, we should be.
That's the thing. I was like, take a photo and just post it. And hopefully, someone sees it.
All right, we'll be back in a few
couple weeks. Yeah,
couple weeks. Adios, cousins.